What's up, guys? I'm Landon from Shoeware, and today we're putting the newest models from Stephen Curry and Joel Embiid's shoe lines with Under Armour head to head to kind of see how they compare. So really quick, if this is your first time checking us out, feel free to drop a follow or subscribe wherever you're watching and give this video a like, and we would greatly appreciate that. But now let's go ahead and touch on the box and the price before we get into the shoes. So the Curry 8s do come in an all-white box, kind of featuring his new player logo. So for those who don't know, this actually is Stephen Curry's first shoe that has kind of taken over its own kind of official line, somewhat similar to what Michael Jordan is to Nike. That's kind of like the closest relation that I can make. They kind of gave him his own separate branch now. So yeah, this new Curry logo is like super sweet because it has so many elements to it. So first, the initials S and C are on there, you know, similar to how a lot of players have their player logo look. But you can also see that it resembles the 3-point sign that your hand would make, you know, which he has plenty of experience holding up that sign since he is second in all time in 3-pointers made in the history of the NBA, knocking on the door of Ray Allen. And, you know, it's not going to be too long until he is first place in that spot. But you're now switching over to Embiid's shoes. You do have a black box that actually features the traction pattern from these shoes showing up on this box here. And then, of course, you're going to have that J and E on the player logo kind of down in the corner. And then as for pricing, we have a little bit of a gap here with the Curry 8s going for $160. And then the Embiid 1s are all the way down at $120. But, you know, it's not a major surprise because remember, Curry is on his 8th signature shoe compared to, you know, Joel Embiid being on his first here, which is around the same price that Curry's first shoe went for as well. And, you know, those prices tend to jump up every so often, so I'm sure it's going to reach a higher point over time. But that covers the box and price for these, so let's move on. All right, so before I get into the performance comparison, I do want to first take a quick look at the overall appearance for both of these shoes. So starting off with the colorways, we have the Under Armour Curry 8 Feel Good Flow versus the Embiid 1 Draft Night. So looking at the Currys, you are going to see his logo kind of show up on the side of that upper, and it's kind of, you know, mixed in all throughout the shoe, and I am a really big fan of it, like I just mentioned. And then that colorful band that kind of runs along the upper does allow for some fun colorways. I do like the ones that we have here. And then so there's a bunch of other like little small personal touches that find its way onto the shoe line that I won't get too deep into, but you know, I do like those pieces. And then switching it over to the Embiids, you know, honestly, this is a pretty solid look too. So this Draft Night colorway actually has a really cool reasoning for like the color scheme behind them. And I do explain that, you know, a little bit more in the individual shoe review that I did for these if you want to go and look at that. But, you know, definitely not a bad look at all. And I do like that Embiid has his own shoe now. It just kind of speaks to how dominant he is because there really aren't that many big guys out there with a signature shoe line. You know, normally brands tend to go after, you know, guards or just smaller players, because it's a more relatable, or I guess more of a realistic shoe, because there will be more people that, you know, become point guards and shooting guards than there will be, you know, 7-footers just walking around. So I am glad that he found a place to get his shoe line started. And, you know, you can actually switch up the look for these two with a bunch of fun colorways thanks to that side piece on the upper of these. So, you know, honestly, Under Armour did a really good job on his first shoe, in my opinion. But now let's go ahead and take a closer look at how each of these shoes hold up on the court. All right, so now let's go ahead and break down the materials and the performance comparison, starting off with the cushioning for both shoes. So looking at the Curry 8, these feature a brand new UA Flow cushioning technology that is just super lightweight and bouncy. You know, it's probably the most comfortable shoe in his entire line to this point. And then for the Embiid 1, we do have a micro G foam midsole, which, you know, that's kind of what Under Armour uses a lot of the time in their shoes. And, you know, honestly, I don't have any complaints for it. It is a pretty balanced cushioning setup and a cushioning feel. And then moving on to the upper, the Currys have a knit upper with some like synthetic overlays, and you know, it's a super great shoe for ventilation, you know, a lot of breathability. And then you can tell, you know, that Under Armour did use some higher quality materials in the Currys kind of compared to Joel's line, but that is kind of what you'd expect with a significantly higher retail price, like $60 higher. So the support though for the Embiids is definitely the strong point for that shoe. That multicolored piece on the side gives you extremely solid lateral containment, and you know, there just really isn't a lot on the Curry 8s to kind of add to the support. And then you are going to have that knitting makeup as well, so it's pretty flexible. So I wouldn't say that Steph's shoe line gives you the most secure feel. I guess maybe at least not compared to the Embiids. But then moving on to the bottom of the shoes to check out the traction, the Curry 8s really excel in this area. So this design and materials, they stick to the floor so well. Like the grip is great. You can pretty much just stop on a dime. And then the traction for the Embiids You know, the pattern is somewhat of like a radial design with its own kind of spin on there. And, you know, I guess the best way to describe the traction setup for the Embiid one is good, not great. But, you know, still no major issues, but I wouldn't really say that it stood out to me. But just another side note is that neither of these shoes are going to have like, you know, super impressive durability on that outsole. So I would maybe avoid using these for outdoor use. But especially the Currys, because they do have a much softer setup to that with that foam outsole. But to finish off with sizing, both of these have a true to size fit. The Currys actually are somewhat close to running on the smaller side, so if you would like a little bit of extra space to play in, you may want to experiment going a half size up, but I personally did not need to. So for the final ratings, I do like the design or just like the appearance for the Currys better. It's tough to make a great looking shoe that still meets all the requirements for a big man, but you know, Under Armour really did their best on the Embiids and they definitely came out nice, just not quite as nice as the Curry 8s. And then for cushioning, the Currys have that new flow foam setup that pretty much just feels like you're walking on a cloud. So I do have to side with the Curry 8s for that section as well. And then you can tell that Under Armour did put some more effort, money, you know, a combination of both, I guess, into the Curry Flow 8s. You know, so the materials are going to be a higher standard, but, you know, as far as support, what adds to the comfort for the Currys, such as the knit upper, it really doesn't do much to kind of lock your foot in. While the Embiid ones do have some like TPU overlays that, you know, really give you a secure feel inside of his shoe, which, you know, is what I would imagine will be a major focal point going forward. Since, like I said, this is a center shoe line, a big guy shoe. So I am going to go that direction with the support, but it will be back to the Currys for the traction because this is the best grip that I have ever had, like for his entire shoe line. And, you know, I could say I mean, honestly, there's a lot of major selling points, things that they've done better on this Curry 8 than they've done with any of his previous shoes. So that is going to be why these end up the clear-cut winner for this competition. But definitely let me know which shoe is your favorite down below. And then keep in mind, first of all, we are dealing with two different guys who play two entirely different positions. So while the Curry 8s are going to be more lightweight and comfy, the Embiid 1 does give you a really locked in and supportive feel with some solid cushioning and traction too, just nothing over the top in that area. But in case you do want a little bit more of an in-depth review on each shoe, we do have individual shoe reviews live for both of these where I go a little deeper into these models, so feel free to check those out. But that pretty much wraps up our performance comparison for the Under Armour Curry 8 Flow versus the Embiid 1. Thank you guys for taking some time to watch. If you're interested in purchasing these shoes, just go ahead and check out the links in the description below. And then last, just feel free to leave a comment below if you like this video or just kind of letting us know what other shoes you may want us to check out. But until next review, I'm Landon for Shoeware. Peace.